Tonight on FDN News, Huntington, Indiana Mayor Brooks Feathers joins us to emphasize the importance of voting. Social media specialist Lynette Fager discusses the usage of social media in this election. Just how much does social media affect the outcome? Huntington University TESOL Director Shoshana McKenney discusses if character should play into the outcome of this election. All this and more on FDN's election night coverage, starting now. Good evening and welcome to the first ever Election Night Special Report on FDN News. I'm Kaylee Hendrickson. Throughout the next hour, FDN will be bringing you live updates with local leaders, student opinions, and the latest results on tonight's presidential, state, and local elections. Not only is the presidential race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton coming to a close, but local and state elections are coming to an end as well. Here's a closer look at the races we are watching tonight. First, here's a look at our major presidential candidates and some of their major policies. Clinton believes that college should be debt-free. She plans to reform and revise the Affordable Care Act, more commonly known as Obamacare. She is pro-choice and supports the federal funding of Planned Parenthood. She supports bringing in refugees into the country. Trump does not think that government should profit off of loans. He wants to repeal Obamacare and open the markets so insurers can compete. He is pro-life but wants to allow abortions in case of rape and incest. And he wants to build a wall between the U.S. and Mexico to ensure a more secure border. Another race we will be watching closely tonight is the race for Indiana governor. Democrat John Gregg lost a close election to Governor Mike Pence in 2012. Gregg is a former speaker of the Indiana House of Representatives and a president of Vincennes University. Holmcomb is the lieutenant governor of Indiana. When Trump had hand-selected Governor Mike Pence to be his running mate, the Indiana State Republican Committee chose Holmcomb to replace Pence as their gubernatorial nominee. Polls have shown Gregg leading Holcomb, but recent ones show a close race. Running for the U.S. Senate are Democrat Evan Bayh and Republican Todd Young. Todd Young is a U.S. Congressman representative of the Bloomington area of Indiana. He won the primary against Martin Stutzman, another conservative congressman representing Northeast Indiana. Bayh is a former governor of U.S. Senator for Indiana and came out of retirement to seek re-election. Young and Bayh are each seeking to fill the Senate seat vacated by Dan Coates. And lastly, running for the U.S. congressional seat representing the Northeast Indiana is Democratic nominee Tommy Schrader, Republican nominee Jim Banks, and Libertarian Pepper Snyder. Marlin Stutzman vacated the seat when he ran against Todd Young in the Republican primary. Banks is a former state senator from Huntington who took leave from the position between September 2014 and April 2015 so he could serve as a naval lieutenant in Afghanistan. He's expected to win the district easily. Schrader is not your usual politician candidate who runs differently for positions in every election. He has been described as a wanderer and lives out of motels. Snyder is a political advocate who believes government should be societally tolerant and fiscally responsible. With results coming in all night, many of you are live viewing parties across campus. FDN's Shelby Price joins us live from the Hub to talk to some students about their expectations.
I'm here in the Hub for a night that will go down in history. Two of the most controversial candidates are up for the presidential election, and we have a few people in the Hub that are willing to talk to us about how they're feeling tonight. So Linnea, can you tell me how you're excited to be watching this election, being the first one that you voted in?
I'm excited that it's over after everything that that happened during it, but I'm really happy that this is happening.
And how do you feel about watching it and watching the results coming in?
Very, very nervous. I mean, it's like waiting for a final to happen and you didn't study and that everything's just gonna go downhill.
And how do you feel about having an opinion in the first election that you can vote in?
I got that feeling when I filled out my ballot that everyone always talks about, the fact that you can change the nation with that one, like, click of a button, like, dash of a pen, like, marking that piece of paper that, I have a voice in this nation.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. And now we have Ben here to tell us his personal opinions about the election. So, Ben, can you tell me who you personally think will win tonight?
Not us.
Elaborate.
Well, I mean, I feel like everyone on a whole is pretty dissatisfied with the candidates. There are a few people who do still strongly support the candidate they originally voted for in the primaries, but as a whole, just we're not happy. My hope, though, is that the candidate would probably be Trump, just he's pro-military. I think that a candidate to be pro-military is very important. Hillary's already shown as she's been in previous offices that she's not been very pro-military, so there's Benghazi and other scandals.
Well, thank you so much for your interview. We appreciate it. Live, back to you guys.
Throughout the course of the night, we will be keeping you up to date on the latest results from today's election. Keep an eye on social media to see your thoughts on tonight's events. You can tweet us and send us your thoughts on Twitter at FDN_news. With the latest results on the races we are watching.
Thanks, Kaylee. And really, the big one that we're going to look at tonight is votes. Only 15% of the precincts have come in so far, but you can already tell Donald Trump has already taken a huge lead in Indiana, and he has already been named the winner of Indiana with 64%, and then only 31% for Hillary Clinton. And now looking to a couple others here. Well, first with the presidential race, Donald Trump actually won in Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia, but Clinton took Vermont. And now looking to the U.S. Senate, Republican Todd Young is winning so far with 57%, and then Democrat Evan Bayh is down to 38%, and yet again, only 14% of the precincts have been reporting in. Now, Republican Eric Holcomb for Indiana governor is winning at 55%, with a close race between him and Democrat John Gregg. He is only losing by 14 to 41%. And yet again, only 13 precincts have reported. So there are definitely a lot of precincts that have not reported in yet. So these numbers will definitely be changing throughout the night. Now, with the U.S. representative in our 3rd district, Republican Jim Banks is up to 73%. Democrat Tommy Schrader is at 20%. And Pepper Snyder is at 6%. And really only 6% of the precincts have reported in, so you can definitely see these numbers change. We will be coming back to these numbers towards the end of the night, but so far, back to you, Kaylee.
Thanks, Noah. We're looking forward to seeing you again at the end of the hour. Our first guest tonight is Huntington, Indiana's Mayor, Brooke Fetters. FDN's reporter Hannah Britton joins us live in studio to get Fetters' thoughts on voting and the election.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, and a warm welcome to you.
You bet, Hannah.
Mayor Fetters, excuse me. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
You bet. Happy to do it.
I have a few questions for you tonight,
Sure.
but first, could you just share a little bit about the importance of voting in today's elections?
Well, the importance of voting is it's a liberty that is a duty that is unique to the American experiment in self-government. So that's a big constitutional answer. But what I've shared with a lot of people who've been griping a little bit about the choices that they've got, there's no good choice for president, that sort of thing. In reality, having no good choice is better than having no choice. So anybody that's lived in a dictatorial, totalitarian kind of system would love to have two bad choices as opposed to no choice. We as Americans would like better choices, perhaps, but we have this opportunity, and veterans have fought for that over the years.
Now, what do these elections mean for the city of Huntington?
You know, honestly, as far as the city is concerned, national elections don't have a lot of direct impact. you know, how the city plows its streets, how it picks up its garbage, it takes care of the needs of the citizens. There's really no Republican or Democratic way to do that. We get down to the state level, decisions that are made in Indianapolis, there's more direct impact. But I think it's important that all of us as residents of Huntington County exercise our right to vote and express our opinion on the national level.
Thank you so much, Mayor Fetters. The presidential and Senate races were very negative and polarizing. What would you have to say to HU students with the end of the election cycle upon us?
You know, sadly, that seems to be the way political advertising gets, is it's amplifying the other person's negative. I prefer, and what's been nice at the local level where I exist, is to talk about what is your vision for the community or the state or the nation. And I think you really have to move beyond to this year, November 8th, get to November 9th, understand the world's not going to come to an end. We move the rhetoric aside and realize that there's not a one of us without faults, and we go make the very best city, county, state, and nation that we can.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for joining us, Mayor Fetters. And we have much more on FDN's Election Night Special Report coming up after the break.
After the break, Volunteer Director Norris Friesen explains why some Christians won't be voting in this election. And FDN wants to know, did you vote? FDN Shelby Price asks students if they voted this election season. International student David
Well, I've tried repairing every little piece I've built and seen torn apart. Why try? The waves wreck me every time I'm back, stranded at the start. I'm sick of singing it over my head. I wanna get out and set sail. It's time to leave the lost battles behind. Hey, I am ready to start again. My plans, they keep running me ashore. My hands are bruised and beat down, but I know the horizon is the freedom I need. I won't stop now. I'm sick of singing it over my head. I wanna get out and set sail. It's time to leave the lost battles behind. Hey, I am ready. Hang on, hold my breath.
Never mind. That's good. Welcome back to FDN's special election night coverage. With the election season coming to a close, many of you may be left with negative emotions. Some of you may not see a candidate who you think you can morally support. HU's Volunteer Director Norris Friesen explains why some Christians may choose not to vote. With the election in full swing, many Christians are faced with the decision on who to vote for, or if they should even vote at all. HU's Director of Volunteer Services and Outreach Ministries, Norris Friesen, explains why some Christians choose not to vote.
As Christians, we are not of this world. We are, I think the Bible calls us sojourners or aliens, and we are passing through. And so when we attach ourselves to an identity, a national identity of some kind, then we become co-opted with that identity, and our Christian identity becomes less important.
Friesen says that there's a way to vote that keeps Christians focused on the principles of Christianity, but it takes compromise.
For a Christian to engage in the political process, has to really beware, has to be really sensitive to what I'm agreeing to and what I'm not agreeing to. And like I said, it becomes a give and take relationship, and it's not a winner take all kind of attitude.
Friesen shines some light on how Christians can vote for the betterment of Christianity and make the economical choice at the same time.
So there is no purity in there's no Christian purity in politics. It's a Christian. It's a democracy. It's a government. And so as Christians speak into that, they have to begin to think about, okay, well, what is consistent with what I understand the gospel to be? And I think that's a huge question that Christians should grapple maybe more with than what we do.
Friesen says that he did vote in this election and encourages a conversation on the topic of Christianity and voting. This presidential election is expected to have an historic voter turnout. So FDN wanted to know if you voted in this election. FDN's Shelby Price took to campus to find out more.
It's finally election day, and I'm out here as the woman on the street to get the scoop on who's voted and how their experience was. So, did you go out and vote?
I did go out and vote.
I have, yes.
Yes, I have voted.
Yes, I have.
Unfortunately, I have not.
How was your experience with voting?
It was good. I just had an absentee, and they sent it in the mail, and I mailed it back to them.
It was super easy because I didn't ask for the ballot.
Got up today at 6 in the morning actually to go and vote because the other 2 times that I tried, the lines were too long. So I got up really early. I got an absentee ballot, so it was pretty straightforward. Everything was pretty clear. I looked everything up on Google before I actually made decisions, but yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
I voted at my desk in my dorm, and I researched like each individual candidate on the ballot and chose who I wanted, because I decided like I'm not going to do this absent-minded, even though it's an absentee ballot. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, it makes you feel important.
What is your reasoning for not voting?
I am not registered, and I could care less who wins.
Well, that was a very straightforward answer. Thank you for the interview. Well, you heard it here first. I hope everybody had a great voting day, and tonight we will find out who won the 2016 election. For FDN News, I'm Shelby Price.
Some of you on campus could not vote, so we wanted to get an in-depth look on how an international student views this presidential election. Hannah Britton joins us live in studio with freshman Polish international student David Bronowski to get a European perspective.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, and welcome again, David, to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Perfect. So as an international student, just have some questions for you. What have been your thoughts or feelings on this election?
Even though I'm international student, American politics has been always close to me. I found this campaign very interesting. I was tracking the news every week. However, the debate between the main 2 candidates wasn't very high. They rather focus on sensational news than the things that really matter, like economy or international security.
Yes. How do you think the outcome of this election will affect America's relationship with Europe?
The US elections are very important for Europe because the United States is the guarantor of security in our continent. I must say, if Donald Trump wins, I'm very worried about the outcome of the relationships between our continent and the United States. I'm concerned about his relations with Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation. The Republican candidate was saying very often that he can talk with Russia as partners. And he also mentioned that under his administration, the NATO countries which doesn't pay to the United States will not be protected. These words shouldn't be said by the candidate of the most powerful country in the world. So I think it's a simple signal to Russia, do what you want. In my opinion, it's extremely dangerous for stabilization and security in Europe.
So definitely a lot of security thoughts in that. One more question for you
Sure.
here. How do American elections differ from elections in Poland?
Elections are much more different. We have a different political system, and we don't have pre-elections. So there's no limit in candidates. That's a one thing. And we have 2 turns. The best 2 candidates goes to the another turn. So it's slightly different and also very emotional.
Emotional, huh? Well, thank you so much, David, for
You're
sharing
welcome.
tonight and joining us.
Thank you.
And we have much more on FDN's election night special report coming up after the break.
Social media specialist Lynette Fager joins us to discuss the social media campaigns of both Clinton and Trump. AHU Bible professor John Noble tells voters to look at the candidates as a whole, rather than focusing on specific policies. Hear more from him after the break.
SAB here on campus is known as the Student Activities Board, and what we do is we try to exemplify Christ-like fun with definitely integrating the social, spiritual, and celebratory spirit of Huntington University.
It allows students to be involved on different events and just get to know new people, and also just to allow Christ to be glorified through some of our activities that we do here on campus. Working for SAB is a lot of fun. You get to know all the events beforehand, which is kind of cool, and like planning an Olympiad, which is also a lot of fun. It's just a lot of prayer and preparation before events and our meetings, and just like praying for students and like that God is glorified through all these events, and it's not us who are putting on the show, that it's really about God and like Him being glorified through it.
Definitely it's been a high, a constant enjoyment, a constant reminder of what it's like to go into community and really just join in fellowship with so many other Christians.
Students should be excited because SAV does a lot of like cool and different events, and it's just like a way for students just to get involved and just new and exciting things, and just to bring the community a lot more here at Huntington. And the staff that we have this year is just awesome, and we just have lots of fun, and so we just want to bring that to the students, and just to take a load off with like classes and stuff, just a place where we can just like come and enjoy one another.
SAB shows you that you can have Christ-like fun and also incorporate so many different aspects of your Christian walk and Christian faith. And that's what SAB brings. It brings connectivity, it brings fellowship, and more importantly, it glorifies God.
Hello and welcome back to FDN News. Many of you are having a viewing parties on and off campus tonight. FDN's Rachel Blaufert joins us live from Livingston Hall via Skype to get students' opinions on tonight's events.
I'm live here in Livingston Hall where they're hosting a viewing election party. Let's go and see what the students have to think of the polls right now. I'm here with Jeremy. He's a sophomore here at HU. Jeremy, what do you happen to think of the election so far this year?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, I'm feeling nervous about either candidate, honestly, being elected. I think that because Hillary is more of a polished politician, that she obviously has a better chance right now. But I think Trump's views align more closely with my own. So I hope that he can come out with the win. But yeah, definitely staying in prayer about it.
Well, that's a smart thing to do. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's go see what some other people have to say, right? Here we're joined by Nick. Nick, did you happen to vote this year?
I did.
And what do you think of the election so far?
I think either way, we need to pray. Either way, we need to pray.
Really? Well, that is a smart thing. I'm Rachel Bauer here live in Livingston Hall. Back to you guys in FDN News.
With social media being used now more than ever, how much does it play into this year's presidential election? Lynette Fager joins FDN's Hannah Britton live in studio to find out more.
A warm welcome to you, Lynette. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us. Could you explain a little bit about your job as a social media specialist?
My job is all about content creation. It's content creation for all of our different platforms and to help control our brand on social media and to help convey the message of Huntington University on social media.
Wow, fantastic. So in regards to the Clinton and Trump campaigns, who has done a better job both interacting and expressing their brand on social media?
Well, they both have a very different take on social media with how they actually are using it to further their campaign. Trump definitely has a very bold, unique voice. He shoots from the hip with pretty much everything he does on social media, whereas Clinton's a little bit more controlled. And in some ways, that's helped her. In some ways, that's hurt her. And the same goes for Trump. I mean, it depends on the type of person you're looking for. But he has a very bold brand, and he's been very, very vocal. And she's got a very controlled brand and has been more subdued, which has hurt her in followers. He's got a lot more followers than she does. But his history with social media is a little different as well.
Just adds to their staggering differences.
Absolutely.
Is there anything either candidate could have done differently to make their social media campaign more efficient?
You know, I think hindsight's going to be 20/20 on this one. It really, I'm sure that looking back after tonight, they'll both think of ways they could have done things differently. But the campaigns have been so different, and they have both had such different choices that, I mean, if we look back on this and whoever wins, we could say that Trump was maybe too vocal or Clinton was maybe too subdued on social media. So to say that one could have done something different to change this, I'm not sure we can say that yet.
Absolutely. And last question here for you. How important is social media in this election?
This has been a game changer for this election. We saw a huge change when it came to social media when President Obama ran a couple of years ago, and now we're just seeing that continue to grow exponentially. I think that this election is going to be won or lost in some ways on social media and the voices that they've created for themselves. We've seen a different generation be introduced to the politics behind their campaigns based upon what they're saying on social media, how people interacting. It's been a game changer. I think it's just going to become an even bigger game changer in future elections.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lynette. No problem. Thank you, and back to you, Kaylee.
Well, there are some Christians who support Trump and others who support Clinton. HU's Bible and religion professor John Noble digs deeper into each major candidate's faith. Both Clinton and Trump have claimed to have had Christian beliefs. The claim to be a Christian pulls in many voters who hope to elect Christ followers as their leader. HU's Professor John Noble explains to voters that they must look at the whole package rather than specific statements or policies.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that as informed voters, whether you're a Christian or coming from another perspective, I think you have to look at the whole package. I mean, that's my point of view anyway. That on the one hand, we care about the policies, we care about the things that they say that they're going to try to do when they're in office.
That both candidates are Christians, but that statement should be taken with a grain of salt. Noble says this is a reason for students to do their research on the candidates. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will have much more as FDN Election Night Special Report continues. HU TSAW director gives her thoughts on the character traits of Trump and Clinton. Are students upset with the candidates' actions, or should they focus on the policies? It has been a problem for years, the national debt crisis. Hear what an HU professor has to say on the issue as Troy Eyrich gives his thoughts.
My name is Anita Gray, and I'm the director. My absolute passion is teaching students how to use credible sources. I ask them questions, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And all of a sudden that light bulb goes on and they go, aha, and they get it. I don't think there's any better feeling in the profession than that. It's just so exciting to watch a student go through the process of learning. I've had several students and faculty say, you know, I went down and looked for this book and I found another one that looks really interesting. So I decided to check that one out too. Or I need to look a little bit more in my subject area because there are some really good materials down there. I liken it in some ways to Alice in Wonderland. You fall into the hole of the area of your study. And Alice had constant discovery. She had to have constant discovery because strange things were happening to her. She had to learn how to get out of them or how to deal with them. And that's the same way with learning. You when you start falling into that hole of a topic and you need to learn more and you need to find out more and you have to do this and sorry, I get really excited about this. That's what you can do in a library. You can go into the shelves, you can go into the stacks and look and see if you can find more information than what you just specifically went for.
It's very intentional, it's very personal, and I really like that because it really encourages each artist to grow. The professors are amazing. They encourage us to not only just make good artwork but be stewards in Christ.
You know, it's a big mountain to climb, realizing that it's not just off how, effort anymore. It's not just off, if you have a good attitude, it's based off what you can do and how you're able to create or describe something in video, painting, acting. It's based off you, and that's what's so scary about it. But at the end of the day, I know myself and a lot of my friends wouldn't want to change the majors for anything because it's what they want to do. It's what God's calling them to do, and they have a real gift at it.
Professors help you each step of the way, but they also want you to do your own thing.
Your teachers want to know you want to know your teachers. You want to use all the equipment possible. You want to just be the best that you can be, and I think that's what really sets us apart.
They want us to run with it and experiment. That's what I really like about the art program here is it's very individual, but it's also focused on a greater goal, which is building the kingdom of God, which I think is really cool.
Hello and welcome back to FDN's Election Night Special Report. Another topic that seems to be at the front of many of your minds, the national debt. Many are looking to the presidential nominees to fix the crisis. Assistant Professor of Business Troy Eyrich talks about the financial plans of both Clinton and Trump.
Both candidates have not drilled down real far on their specifics. Clinton has probably been more specific as it relates to higher education, or more specifically the student impact for higher education.
Eyrich says whoever wins the presidential election will be forced to look at the national debt and find a way to better control the deficit. The issue of character has come into play a lot in this election season, so we wanted to know how much it should influence votes. Shoshana McKinney is the Director of Teaching English as a Second Language Program, or TESOL, here at HU. She joins FDN's Hannah Britton live in studio with a look at the candidates' characters.
Welcome, Shoshana. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'd like to ask you a few questions about the character of both Trump and Clinton.
That's an interesting question. For this election particularly, I think the character of both candidates has played a huge part in people's decision. And I think as you have watched the election so far, both candidates have a pretty unfavorable view, or they're viewed unfavorably by the American people. So I think a lot of that has to do with their character, not necessarily where they stand on the issues.
Absolutely. Have you seen any of your students influenced or turned off by the character traits of either Trump or Clinton?
Absolutely. Because I work with a lot of students who have international sensitivities or who are international students, I think the most responses that I've heard from students have been negatively affected by Trump's stand on a lot of issues regarding race and immigration and international policy. So the things that I've heard from students is that they feel that Trump is kind of inciting a culture of hate, and they feel even, maybe a little bit afraid of what their lives might be like here in the U.S. and our international relations, how that might be affected by him if he becomes the president.
Right. So just the last question here for you. Are there any character traits that should disqualify a presidential candidate?
Well, I think as the American people, I think we're always looking to have someone in office that we admire, that we feel safe with, that we feel comfortable leading our country. And so I don't know if there's a character trait that would disqualify a candidate, but I definitely think that any traits that would cause people in this country to feel unsafe or to feel threatened or to feel uncomfortable in some way is concerning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shoshana, again for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And back to you, Kaylee.
Thank you, Hannah. After the break, we will hear from you and see what your predictions are for this election outcome. We will also take one last look at the viewing party here on campus and a final look at the latest election results.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bring up music.
Hello and welcome to FDN News. I'm Kelsey Cruz.
Hi everyone and welcome down to Forest Glen Park. I'm Logan Hines.
Hello, it's Hannah here on Forester Radio 105.5 FM, WQHU. That was just Brother with Need to Breathe, and up next we have Hillsong with Touch the Sky.
Once the floodwaters go down for
This program, I felt like really prepared me well for what it would be like to be in the news industry.
From yesterday to today, the water has certainly risen and spread.
You become a one-man band by the time you graduate, which that's something that people are looking for. People who can shoot, write, and edit all their own stuff.
I was definitely blessed enough to come in and I started calling games right away as a play-by-play announcer.
Longley tipped. Down and in, and the Foresters taking the second set. Mateo with a nice cutback. She'll take the hit, left foot. That's in! Takes the three. That's good!
Through FDN Sports, it's really going to feel like a professional setting. I'm looking to really just take it to the next level, really just upgrade this FDN Sports and let people know that, FDN Sports is here to stay. We're here to battle with everyone.
With radio, students definitely thrive here just because we are hands-on right away. I have a little weekend weather update for you here. Friday, it looks like it's going to be absolutely beautiful, a high of 72. I think radio and podcasting is a great way to have other people's stories shared, whether that be their testimonies or me just having the chance to talk to people and be able to pour into them in some sort of way.
In the past couple of years, we have taken huge strides. We also do live shots, we're doing more news packages, doing more stories that affect the community. With all the politics going on recently, we've been able to do stories about that.
More a lifetime asset than an education.
And God bless you.
And I will let my future take care of itself.
And vote for Donald Trump.
Hey, keep it locked right here on Forester Radio 105.5 FM.
Well, that's going to do it for us here at FDN Sports. I'm Logan Hunt.
Well, that's all we have for you in this installment of FDN News.
Hello and welcome back to FDN's Election Night Special Report. People across America are having viewing parties, and students here at Huntington are no exception. We're going to head back out live to the hub. FDN Shelby Price has your thoughts on tonight's results.
We are still here in the hub, and the election has done nothing but keep us on the edge of our seats. We have a few more students here that are willing to be interviewed. So, John, can you please tell me how you have felt about watching the elections tonight?
It's definitely been very nerve-wracking. Just seeing how close it's been in a lot of the states just definitely puts you on the edge of your seat. Yeah.
And you said you voted in this election. Can you tell me how you feel about having an opinion in this?
Yeah, I feel like just by being able to put my vote in, it kind of allows me to voice my opinion. And even if the people I vote for didn't win, I still, at least, if nothing else, have a right to, I guess, complain if I don't like their policies and whatever.
Well, thank you so much for your interview. And now we have Jazz here to tell us about how she feels about watching the election tonight. So, Jazz, how are your feelings going tonight?
It's going okay. It's interesting to see, especially being able to watch with a lot of students here on campus. Considering the fact that I didn't vote, a lot of people would say that, oh, you don't really have an opinion in this. But the fact is, it's still my country, and I'm still a part of it, still as a United States citizen. So it's definitely interesting.
And you said you didn't vote. Can you further elaborate on that?
Yes, I didn't vote simply for the fact that I couldn't stand with either one of the candidates very soundly, and I didn't want to simply put my vote into a candidate or put it in a third party if I couldn't really absorb what they were about. I should be able to stand boldly and say, this is who I'm voting for, despite whatever. And I just didn't feel I could do that, so I chose to not vote. Now, some people would say that that's wrong because it is my American duty to vote, but I also think it's my American right to be able to be proud of who I voted for and proud of what I'm doing in this country.
Well, thank you so much for your interview. Live from the hub, FDN News, Shelby Price. Back to you guys.
With a new president named by the end of the day, FDN wanted to see who you thought would win the presidential race. Earlier today, FDN's Craig Campbell got your predictions on tonight's outcome.
2016, it's finally here. I'm Craig Campbell, and I went around campus asking students and staff their predictions for who would win tonight's election.
Well, I think Hillary's going to win the election here today. I think a lot of it comes down to Trump kind of digging himself a hole in the past 2 to 3 months, just saying a bunch of things that really alienated a bunch of people. And with that reason, I think Hillary's just going to, she didn't eliminate enough of her base, so I think she's going to win the election.
I think Hillary Clinton is going to win the election because she has very lucrative partnerships with the media that have been reporting kind of on her side the whole time. So I think that's kind of probably going to sway the popular opinion that way.
If I had to guess, probably Clinton, because I think the Republican Party is a lot more divided over the Trump nomination than the Democratic Party was over the Clinton nomination.
I think Hillary's going to win. I just think she's been a lot less controversial from what I've seen.
Gary Johnson. Why? Because I'm a dreamer. I don't know how to let go.
Well, there you have it. Time will tell who is victorious in tonight's election. Stay tuned to FDN News to find more political coverage.
As our episode comes to a close tonight, Noah Tobias joins us for one last live update. Noah, what are the latest results?
Well, Kaylee, we just got these brand new voter presidential reportings. So again, as I said earlier in this race, Donald Trump has clinched Indiana 60% to 36% over Hillary Clinton. And now looking at the states that they have gotten so far is actually Donald Trump just clinched Alabama and South Carolina. So the electoral votes have went up to 66 to 68. So Trump is only trailing Clinton by 2. But for the rest of the states that Trump has clinched, again, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. But for Clinton, you have Vermont, Maryland, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Delaware, Washington, D.C., and Illinois. And now looking to the U.S. Senate, again, we just got this information. U.S. Senate has announced Todd Young has clinched for the Senate seat. He won 60% over Democrat Evan Bayh. And then for Indiana governor, Republican Eric Holcomb is still up 53% over John Gregg, and he has 44%. But again, it's only a third of the precincts that have reported so far, so you're really going to want to stay tuned for the rest of these numbers. And then also in the U.S. representative in the 3rd district, Republican Jim Banks has clinched 74% and over Tommy Schrader and Sidney Pepper, over Pepper Sidney. And now, Kaylee, again, still watch for these numbers to change because there are a ton of numbers that have not been put in. Back to you, Kaylee.
Well, that's all we have for you in FDN's Election Night Special Report. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FDN_news for the latest results and updates. Feel free to tag us in your viewing party post and use the hashtag FDNElection2016. I am Kaylee Hendrickson, and have a safe night.